Let's talk about the Eastern Conference standings for this upcoming season. Obviously, transactions can happen. There could be a Kevin Durant trade, but we're going to place every team in the Eastern Conference in a tier list and rank how I think they are going to perform for this upcoming season if their rosters stay the same. So, we've got the tier list here. We've got the contenders, teams who are legitimate, like NBA championship threats. Not the teams that are like, oh, they can win it. Those teams are dark horses. And I'll kind of explain as I'm going through. Then there's also the playoff teams who I believe are going to make the playoffs comfortably, but I don't believe are prepared to challenge for an NBA championship unless something crazy happens. The teams I believe are going to be in those play-in positions. Teams that are going to be trying to make a play-in game, but ultimately missed the playoffs. And the teams who are going to be trying to get that French boy in the draft. So let's go in order. I believe it's in alphabetical order. We're going to start with the most difficult one to put on this list, and that is the Brooklyn Nets. So if their team remains the same, it looks like Kyrie Irving is going to stay. There's not a ton of market for Kyrie Irving as far as trades are going. So Kyrie Irving's going to be there. Ben Simmons is there, and I think, Ben Simmons is still a good player. We'll actually see if Ben Simmons wants to play yet. That's actually not a given. Ben Simmons, his defense is going to be a very welcome sight for that Brooklyn Nets team. Royce O'Neal was a pretty low-key good acquisition. Joe Harris still there, space on the floor, albeit on a not great contract. Bruce Brown, that was actually a loss I think is more significant than people think. And the big question mark is going to be Kevin Durant. If Kevin Durant is there, then that's Kevin freaking Durant, right? If he wants to be there, you also got Seth Curry. There's probably some guys I'm not thinking of, but that's a good team. That's a very good team. But I think that the team chemistry there is going to be a problem. You've got some big personalities in Ben Simmons and Kyrie Irving. I can see it kind of derailing, but they are still a dark horse. With that much level of talent on your team, you are certainly within a threat to win an NBA championship. I don't see them as true, legitimate contenders, though, like I see the Boston Celtics. Boston Celtics, I think, were the best team in the NBA in the playoffs. If Middleton's healthy, maybe it's different, but he wasn't healthy. And the Celtics took advantage of that situation, got to the NBA Finals, took a 2-1 lead. If it wasn't for like a Steph Curry masterclass in Game 4, maybe the best game Steph Curry has ever played, considering the context and how he performed. Some huge moments by Draymond, some big shots by Klay Thompson. Maybe the Celtics win a championship. But that great team with like the best defense I've ever seen in my lifetime watching the NBA, and getting better, adding in Malcolm Brogdon, that is a true contender. They might be the favorite in some people's books. That's a legitimate contender right there. Next one up is the Atlanta Hawks. I think the Atlanta Hawks paid a little bit too much for DeJounte Murray, but they understood, they hit the natural ceiling. They tried to build to the draft. There were some good picks in there. Maybe there weren't some great picks in there, but they hit their ceiling as far as building from within. So time to start branching out. They bring in DeJounte Murray. The fit can be called a little bit into question here, but I think this provides Trae Young with more ability to play off ball as long as he's willing to do that. And DeJounte Murray can play off ball as well. This guy can play like a forward, even though he's a guard. I think that duo has a lot of potential to work together. I think DeJounte Murray's defense alleviates a lot of the stress that Trae Young's bad defense kind of puts in the team. But they are not a dark horse. I would like to say they are a playoff team. They are a team that is going to make the playoffs. There could be more than 6 teams in the front 3, but I guess we'll cross that line when we get there. Next up is the Chicago Bulls. Chicago were like the best team in the East for a while, up until some injuries started to happen. DeRozan put on like MVP level performances for the start of the season. Zach LaVine was an all-star along with DeRozan, but there's some question marks to that team. Again, they did a lot of the things with injuries. Patrick Williams was out like the whole year. He's a decent player, former 4th overall pick. But, Lonzo back as well. I still believe there are issues defensively. Lonzo Ball's a great defender. Alex Caruso is a very good defender. Patrick Williams is a good defender. DeRozan is not. DeRozan's a bad defender. Vucevic is not. Vucevic is a bad defender. And he's making a lot of money, man. That Vucevic trade is looking really bad on them. Levine is not a great defender. I don't really know what would be the best lineup for the Bulls, especially in the crunch time, especially in the playoffs. You know, I think their best lineup doesn't include Vucevic, and I think it puts Patrick Williams at the 5. You run Lonzo, Caruso, Levine, DeRozan at the 4, Pat Williams at the 5, small ball. But there are some deficiencies with this team. There are certainly some deficiencies with this team. Those cracks kind of showcased last year, and unless DeMar DeRozan is as good as he was last year, which I really don't think he's going to be, I think they're a play-in team. I don't think they're a top 6 team in the Eastern Conference. I just feel like that is the right position for them in the standings. Cleveland is an interesting one because they showed a lot of talent last year. That's for damn sure. They showed a lot of talent, and they're very youthful, but not a ton of improvements are made. I think they are really overvaluing the impact Karis LeVert will have on the team. I think he's a good player, but I think they're overvaluing what he can do. Garland's obviously good, or borderline great. Jared Allen's good. He's a great player. Mobley is great and an ascending young player. Almost won Rookie of the Year. He didn't, though. But I just don't see them as quite good as like a play. I think they will make the playoffs like through the play-in. So I'll put them here. I think they are going to be like a 7 or 8 seed, but I do think they will ultimately end up making the playoffs, but even leapfrog the Atlanta Hawks. Next up is the Charlotte Hornets. Ooh, Charlotte. I think they lost the guy that was supposed to get a max contract, but made some horrible life decisions at the expense of some people who didn't deserve it. That's a big problem. How much can LaMelo Ball do with this team without that guy there? We'll keep them as a play-in team. I'm thinking about putting them here, but we'll keep them as like a lower play-in team, like a 10th seed for the time being. The Detroit Pistons, I kind of want to skip. I want to skip them, see how I kind of feel out the rest of this, because I feel like they could sneak in up here. We'll get there. Indiana Pacers, pretty simple. They're going to be looking to get the French guy in the draft. I think they are certainly going to be looking to tank. They blew it up. The fans will be really, really hurting that the organization never committed to really going for a championship. The years they had Paul George there, they refused to make any big move to help build around that guy as he was ascending into superstardom. The fans will be upset. The organization is content to be a middle-of-the-pack playoff team and get swept every year. They were content to do that. And now they have just decided mediocrity, whatever. Let's blow it up and let's see what we get. Miles Turner, I mean, at some point, Miles Turner has to get traded, right? At some point, Buddy Hield has to get traded, right? But for now, they are there. But I still think as a team looking to tank. But hey, maybe Halliburton is going to explode into a guy that makes them just good enough to miss the playoffs, but still not get a good draft pick. We'll kind of see how they go there. Next up is the Miami Heat. Miami's an interesting one because they were a Jimmy Butler 3 away from making the NBA Finals, but they got worse. They lost PJ Tucker, didn't replace him, and just haven't really done anything in the offseason. So they are still with Jimmy Butler there, Tyler Hero getting better, questions about his contract, Bam Adebayo. I'm still going to give them the dark horse tag. They are most certainly not, like, on paper good enough to be there, but it's like, oh my God, they're just so strange in the sense that, like, they just win. Miami just always win, pretty much no matter who's on their team. So we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Next up is the Toronto Raptors, and they have, like, 5th or 6th seed. I'm all over that. Which actually, now that I think about it, is going to make me bump the Cavs down to like a high playing team, like 7 or 8, just because I feel like there's going to be 7 teams in this already. I think the Toronto Raptors are getting better. They were the 5th seed last year. I think they're better than Atlanta. I think they can challenge for a top 4 seed, but I think a 5th or 6th seed is the correct prediction for the Raptors, depending on where Brooklyn end up. I talk about so much of the Raptors on my channel, so if you want my opinions, go to like Amateur Sports, Amateur TV, or other videos and amateur clips. But good core, added in a ton of depth. That team is just going to build off of the 48 wins last year. They might be able to replicate it. They might be able to go over, might be able to make it close to that, but that's going to make them a playoff team if they can replicate what they did last season and even get better. Next up is the Milwaukee Bucks. A healthy Bucks team last season arguably would repeat as NBA champions. We'll never know, and that doesn't matter anymore. But they're still a solidified contender. They have the best player in the NBA, in my opinion, in Giannis Antetokounmpo. Middleton's there, going to be back. They have Drew Holiday, premier defender. These guys already won a championship. It's clear that they are a very good team. Role players are ascending into meaningful players and pieces to their bench. That's a good team. Next up, the New York Knicks. They're going to miss the playoffs. They are going to try to be good. Jalen Brunson, nice pickup, but Jalen Brunson good enough to really carry that team into a playoff position? In my opinion, no. But then again, he was playing. He did really well in the playoffs for the Mavs, playing next to like the highest usage player ever. So I can see him definitely stepping it up and doing something, but I still don't think that will be enough with that Knicks core. I just don't think it's really good enough. I think they're going to miss the playoffs. Next one up is the Orlando Magic. They're a fun team. There's some good things here and there, but I don't think they're going to tank. They're getting Banchero, got Franz. Wendell Carter had a great season. Jalen Suggs, I expect him to bounce back after a rough rookie season. I think they are going to try to be good and ultimately miss the playoffs, when it could be better suited to tank. I think they're going to try and not succeed, but consider it a step in the right direction. But yeah, we'll put them there. Next up is the 76ers. Harden took less money to help bring in PJ Tucker, who was an excellent pickup. They brought in DeAnthony Melton at the draft, and they also brought in Daniel House. Now, I've seen a lot of people online, ESPN guys, NBA media guys, talk about what outstanding pickups DeAnthony Melton, Daniel House, PJ Tucker were. And yeah, PJ Tucker's a great pickup. I'm getting a little bit of a sense, this could come back to bite me in the ass, but I'm getting a little bit of a sense that we're struggling to understand how good Melton and House are. I think they're fine players, but are they really making this team as good as the Celtics and Bucks? I don't think so, nor did I guess people suggest that was the case, but I don't see them running with the big dogs up there. I think they still lose to the Celtics or Bucks in the playoff series. That could definitely change, but I could see that happening. They'd be one of those, but I just don't think so. So I don't play them as a dark horse. They can win a chip. I think they have the right piece to win a chip. And hey, maybe Melton and House don't have to light the world on fire. Maybe those guys just have to make life easier for Harden and make life easier for Embiid. But we've seen Harden crumble in elimination games time after time after time. I'm not ready to put them as a contender. Next one up is the Wizards. They gave Bradley Beal that horrible contract. They gave him $251 million. The money isn't necessarily the worst thing. So they gave him a no-trade clause, which just doesn't happen in the NBA. They have no flexibility to build around him. There are some fine players in that team. They are going to miss the playoffs, but they're going to try hard. Hey, maybe Bradley Beal averages 30 points a game and gets him there. We will see. And because I've got the 10 teams already in top here, I think Detroit are gonna have a fun season and a good step in the right direction, but ultimately they're still gonna fall. I could see Charlotte slipping out, Detroit slipping in. I really like the core that the Detroit Pistons have in place. Maybe they're just not quite ready, but hey, I think a lot of the teams here are gonna be trying to win basketball games. Indiana, if they free the tank, they have a real good shot at acquiring the French boy out there in the draft, Victor Wembanyama, or maybe a Scoot Henderson. But there you have it. There's my predictions for the season. This is as of August 2nd. Kevin Durant still plays for the Brooklyn Nets. If he gets traded, this is obviously subject to change, but it'll be cool to revisit this maybe at the end of the season and just see how things panned out. But I really like the way this list turned out. And, the final look at the list. Sorry, I put both out. But this is how I feel. Obviously, there's 7 teams up here. Only 6 can be actual, proper playoff teams, but we'll give the benefit to Atlanta as a team that will be in the play-in, let's say, and win in the play-in tournament. So that is all. Thanks so much for watching this video on Amateur Clips. You might be watching the clips on YouTube, but we actually do these live on Twitch. I stream every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. You can check out those there. Hope we'll see you at the next one. If not, make sure you subscribe to Amateur Clips and like this video to drop that extra little bit of support. We'll see you again next time for another highlight, or hopefully at the actual live streams.